Alright, so we just finished a wrap on the People Like Me and You film clip. And this clip is important to make a music video for a track that's very deeply personal to me. But I also, through my experiences in life, I know how much art has meant in the healing process for me. And so inviting these incredible superstars to work with me to create something that we can then pass on to other survivor spaces that can use art and creativity more in those spaces, because I feel like when I've been going through them, it's very hard. They're under-resourced, under time poor, and you know, there could be a way in these spaces to get collaborations between artists, musicians, dancers, movement, film, into helping these processes. I don't know, in your life, what has art, I suppose, been for you in some of that?
Yeah, well, I've always found, for me as an artist, the arts not only has the capacity to heal and to transform and to create social change, but you can actually literally transform your world.
Wow.
And so for me, it's always been about healing. It's always been about making work that speaks directly to not only myself, but universal truths as well.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing life force. You know, so being able to create and be creative is really, like, it's important to me, and I surround myself with beautiful creatives all the time. Yeah. So I get to have that life, you know. Yeah. And I really I encourage people to be around artists, to be around people who think really laterally, think creatively, and have solutions as well.
Yeah. And also, do you find like that the personal, like our own personal struggle and what we're healing from, and then when you bring that out to that universal truth like you're talking about, it has this capacity to expand like beyond our little healing world, and all of a sudden it's like this orb. You know?
Oh, that's 100% right. I've seen it happen too. When you go into those spaces and you feel that energy and you feel that creative force, you know that it's having an effect, and it does. It really does.
And for me today, like watching you dance, like, you know, it was emotional for me. Like I know this song inside out, but like collaborating across art forms in this way, like my personal story in your hands was like this like moment of like, oh, like a cry that I needed to have. Like I didn't even know I needed to have it, but yeah. How do you, like, in your work, I suppose with arts as well, same sort of question, and also has that collaboration process for you?
Yeah, so just going off like what Basti said, like for myself as a 23-year-old Pasifika dancer, it was very hard getting myself out there in general. As a 15-year-old, I was such an introvert, and till this day still the same. But I feel like just being surrounded by like just a positive support system and just like girls like these, like it just kind of helps me build that character and kind of help me just step out my comfort zone and to be like, hey, it's okay to just like get yourself out there, because you're gonna make it to the top, like if you surround yourself with positive people like that. But and also going off that as well, I feel like it's my job now to just spread that to our young emerging artists as well, because you never know, they probably feel like how I felt like when I was 15. So I feel like it's so important to spread that across the world.
What would you say then to like artists of any age, or you know, everyone has creativity, like it's a human force, just like eating, breathing, sleeping, we are all creative, but a lot of people don't necessarily think that that's part of them. So what would you say for people that are maybe going through stuff, trying to figure out their world, who they are, you know, perhaps they've had an expression of art form at some stage in their childhood, like what would you say, I suppose, to take that first step? Like how did 15-year-old you take that step to now 23-year-old you just like owning yourself in that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like as a 15-year-old and just having my parents with me as well, that support system. But I've just always had this, like, you only live once, just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what age you are. And like, at my age now, I'm like, oh, like, I feel like I'm just too old. Like, I feel like it's too late. Like, and they always had that, like, it's too late. And I've just always had my parents like, no, like, just go for it. Just like, if it's there, go for it. Like, don't hold back, because once you get like a lot older, it's like, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. So my advice to any artist, like, of any age, is just go for it, even if you're scared, because it will open doors. Like,
what would you say?
100%.
Yeah, totally. I would say the same thing, that idea that everyone is actually a creative being. I really prescribe to that as well. And also just the fact that I would like encourage anyone and everyone, even if you don't feel like you're an artist, or you don't feel like you're you've got creative ideas and stuff, once again, just do it, because it creates an emotional literacy inside of yourself.
So
you get to know yourself by just drawing a picture, even if you're not a visual artist, you know, just by singing that song, even if you don't think you're a singer. It's like it creates that inside of you. You get to know yourself really well, and you get to know how fun you can be, and also like take risks without it being risky for you in that moment. Having a safety net and people around you is really important, and I know not everyone can have that, but also if you don't have family, you find your family, you know, and you find them very quickly, like when you know that, like when you get to know who you are.
And it's the message of the song, I suppose, as well. You can too. And that for me, like as a 40-year-old woman in the music industry, like we were told 23 is when you're like over and done with if you haven't made it by then. But like this song came out as an inspiration at a time where I was like, wow, like look, you just got to play this big festival, and if I, with everything I've been through, like could do this, or like seriously, like anyone, you know, anyone can take those like small steps. And the only other question I like to throw to you both is, like, if you're working in a community organization or with people healing through hard stuff, whatever that might be, whether that's, you know, in women's resources centers or healing spaces of any sort, like there's not ever really enough time to really dig in and be like, oh, let's create this, you know, amazing, like what could be a step that anyone could take, you know, at a kind of organizational level?
Yeah. I would say make the space. Make the time, make the space. You will always find artists who will come at any given point in time.
True.
They will come and they will help create with people, especially with women who've gone through trauma. So just make the time and the space, and it will happen.
So true.
And going off like Busty as well, like just little things like programs, like art programs of like any sort of art form really goes a long way as well. And like Busty said, like you'll have artists that will go 100 for each other, and it's so important.
And some people can express through words, some people can express through movement. Like everything has its own, but if you invite multi-disciplinary artists in, you create a space that things can grow from. And I think, you know, that's a message, I suppose, of this track that we want to pass on as well, that we need arts in every space, but in particular in healing spaces there's not enough of that, and there's a lot of time where word therapy or, you know, like government programs or whatever, they don't hit the place inside of you that art can hit. Like there's a special place in there that moves stuff, and whether that's physically or emotionally or whatever, like art is kind of the only tool I've seen that universally can cause that change. So get your artists in. And thank you for collaborating on this. Thank you. Keep doing more.